The City of Gladstone is abiding by the guidelines set forth in House Bill 2560, which requires the governing body of the public body to extent reasonably possible to make all meetings accessible remotely through technological means and provide opportunity for members of general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony during meetings to extent in-person oral and written testimony is allowed. Therefore, this meeting will be open to the public both in person and virtually using the Zoom platform. So, welcome to the Park and Recs Board for April 14th, 2025. I'd like to introduce our new member, Ian Moore. We're glad he's here. It took a while, but we're all here now. So, if we could call the roll, Kristen. Sorry.
Nope, you're fine. Kate Cornelius. Here. Kim Agramson.
Here.
Eric Butler.
Here.
Nancy
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Bruce Hildreth.
Here.
Ian Moore.
Here.
Thank you. And as we go through the meeting, if you remember to identify who you are when you're speaking so that the recorder can transcribe it later. Do we have any willing to approve the minutes from the meeting on March 10th? Are there any concerns or corrections that we need to make?
I would move to approve. This Bruce Hildreth moves to approve.
Kate Cornelius seconds.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Do we want to do roll on that?
Yeah, would you please?
Yes, I would. Kate Cornelius.
Yes.
Kim Agramson.
Yes.
Eric Butler.
Yes.
Nancy Turner.
Yes.
Bruce Hildreth.
Yes.
Ian Moore.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'll try and get back on my schedule here. Okay, first we'll start with business from the staff. Also, welcome to Silas and to Gabrielle Blah, our counselor, and also to Kristen. So welcome. We're all here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Silas.
Thank you. This is Silas, City of Gladstone. Business from staff. I'll start off with just kind of some updates on our ongoing maintenance. We're hitting all parks at least twice a week with trash and restroom cleaning, sometimes more. Unfortunately, we're still seeing quite a bit of vandalism and graffiti that we're cleaning up as soon as we can get to it. Most of that's reported to us from users, and we're out there next day. Some of the vandalism has been plugging up toilets and things that are just vandalism. but we're taking care of it as it comes. There's also, unfortunately, some illegal dumping that still continues in the parks. But again, we are cleaning that up very quickly as the reports come in or we find it. Spring has sprung, so there's lots of general landscaping going on. We've performed at least 2 rounds of mowing, mainly in our sports fields in Meldrum and other parks around the city. We're doing a lot of clearing of tree wells under tree growth and pathway edging, cleaning up the pathways. Also performed quite a bit of bamboo removal from the fence line at Meldrum Bar Park. And we had a report of a mini camps that are popping up. A couple of them at Meldrum that we cleaned up, and also had a report of a fire pit that sprung up underneath the bridge, and we were able to dismantle that and take care of it. Also, with the heavy rains that we've had at the end of March, we have had quite a few cleanup efforts after at the boat dock. So what happens is it's an eddy that occurs and logs and debris stack up in there, and we go down with equipment and take care of it. A very good project we did was collaborating with neighbors at the Ridgegate community surrounding David M. Scott Park. Identified needed trimming and removal of different trees. Completed that work several months ago, but there's a final step. And I think about a week ago or two, crews were able to plant the final 2 trees at a perfect time. So we'll be monitoring those as the weeks to come. But there are 2 cypress trees, and the planting went really well. So I think that's pretty much it for the general updates for city parks. We're just staying busy. Some of the other things are all the user groups, ball field prep for the baseball fields, and other prep on soccer fields that we're doing right now. But getting ready for spring and summer, and the crews are doing a fantastic job out there keeping up with work orders that come in and the regular maintenance. Since our last meeting, sorry, next item I'll talk about is there's information on some upcoming park cleanup events. Solve has submitted permits to perform cleanings on May 7th at Meldrum Bar Park. That's from 9 to 1 p.m. Solve is I believe, a nonprofit that will be doing pickup of garbage and anything that they find along the riverbanks. And then on October 15th, they're going to do the same thing at High Rocks from 9 to 1. With that, we've been getting quite a few special event permits coming in. We received one for graduation at the high school, for Spring Fest and some other events that I think happen annually here at Gladstone, as well as the next event, which will be happening at the Nature Park, Arbor Day, which is coming up at the end of the month, I believe the 26th. They have their plant sale, so we will be helping out with preparation of that as well. So since our last meeting, we did receive, unfortunately, a complaint from DEQ about some erosion going on at Meldrum Bar Park. The photos up top there are what we did to mitigate the erosion. The heavy rain basically caused some discolored water erosion to happen in the RC track, which made it across the path and made it into the Willamette. But we notified DEQ right away, responded to the complaint, and had it remedied, I think, the same day or next day. And since then, we're actively working to find a long-term solution to try to bolster up that erosion around the track. So, but we responded, took care of the issue, got back to DEQ, reported on our activity, showed them photos, and very happy with the way we responded. So we'll be monitoring it too on a closer basis. Lastly, I'll give you an update on the Nature Park paved loop trail. Nancy, thank you for coming out and meeting with us. We had a meeting, I believe it was last week. Last week, they blend together the days, but last week we met out with Pat Sissel, who's the city engineer of record, Sissel Engineering, also John Lewis with 3J Consulting, who's the project manager, representatives from Fognap, as well as Nancy representing the Parks Board. And we walked the park, laid out plans, discussed the paved loop, and kind of what we can do with the topography. Since our meeting, there's been some more formal surveying that's happened on the site. And Kristen, if you can move your cursor, if you watch the cursor, you can kind of see that's a big generalization, but the trail should go something along that line as the cursor. They're trying to find a grade or topography that is going to be most useful to stay within the ADA compliant of 5%. But there's going to be some challenges with that as well. But we're going to do our best to make that universal pathway so that as many people, user groups as possible can use that trail. So we also discussed the restroom and shelter briefly, which will happen or be constructed at a separate time, separate project. But that's kind of where we're at. We're in the survey, and next up will be design. But I think we'll put a little hold on the project because we need to wait until the next budget cycle to start to continue funding it. So we are making some progress, and it's in motion. So that's all I have for business from staff. Are there any questions?
Bruce Hildreth. Silas, the David M. Scott Park, there was a big tree that was taken down. I'm just curious as to why, if it was.
You know, when did this happen, Bruce?
Well, would have been probably during the winter, months?
Maybe before my time.
Oh,
I don't know if
Yeah.
it was, we have been doing routine hazard
Yeah.
assessment and I think it was dead. We've gone through many different parks. Recently, there's a few up in, I know the nature park that we need to attend to. And our journey person has been out with a certified arborist assessing trees as they come in as calls.
Right.
So it was dead.
It was
is what I
dead.
heard, yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. I was just curious. It was a big tree, and I cannot recall it, you know, having been leafed or not, but it was just all of a sudden gone.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was there the morning when guys came out with a crane and all that stuff. But it looks really nice, and I know it's let in a little bit more sunshine in there, and some of the turf reseeding is really kind of nice too, and cleaning up that part of it it's giving it a little bit nicer appearance, which is
Great.
really really good. So
Thank you, Bruce.
good job.
Thank you.
Oh, and then I was wondering on the vandalism.
Yeah.
Any particular park that's getting hit more than not?
It seems like Max Patterson gets hit the most.
Yeah, then the toilets there.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
toilets there. And
Okay.
it,
Yeah.
it seems like it's maybe from, I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
kids. If I can say that, I don't want to be too,
Yeah, I know.
too
Nothing
pointy,
to
but
Okay. No.
but we're working through it. We respond to it daily. Well, not daily, but as soon as it happens, we respond to it.
Okay.
And to go back on the trees, we do regular surveys, I'd say, and we respond to a lot of customer calls that come in. And before we take trees down, we usually have a certified arborist take a look at it.
Take a look at. Yeah, I didn't know why it came down.
Yeah.
Figured something was rotting in the middle. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, a hazard of some sort. Appreciate that. Thanks, Silas.
You bet.
Okay, any other questions?
Kim Eggerson, the 5% limit, I guess, for accessibility wheelchairs, I assume, is that the elevation grade you're talking about?
Yeah, it has to do with slope of
Sure.
the trail. But there's varying distances where you can regulate that a little bit because it's a universal pathway.
Mm-hmm.
So it can go for 200 feet, it can be a little bit more of a slope.
Right,
But the goal is to maintain that 5% as much as possible.
right. Thank you. And then the route of the trail, is that sort of, is it planned to some extent?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
That's
Okay.
the next step is the engineer that we have on record will be doing a design.
Mm-hmm.
So the surveying contractor is out, I think been out. That was the next step is to go out and actually do a formal topography survey.
Okay.
Where they really get a bunch of different points to
Right.
make that, then put it in a computer program and really try to make the best use of the land that's there without cutting and filling as much as possible.
And do we have, I'm sure budget comes into it, but does the distance of the additional paved area, is that known or?
Not at this time, but we're going to maximize it as much as we can.
Sure, sure.
Get the most trail that we can.
Right, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? I had one.
Yep.
And I think well, actually, the others were answered. So budget, you're talking then after July.
Yes.
Okay. And on the loop trail, Kristen, can we go back to that?
Mhm.
Thank you. I would appreciate that topic. I
I
was trying to follow that because that topographical map isn't really easy to follow
Hold on one second. I have.
because you kind of lose the demarcations. But I was trying to decide like where we had walked that day, and it looks like the trail's coming right into the water tower area.
Yes. I would agree. I mean,
Am I confused? I could be confused.
no, here, why don't I come up and I'll run the corner.
I mean,
Not
I'll
good.
just admit it. I could really be confused.
So I'm going to say that we came, like the main trail runs through here.
Correct.
I believe we started here
Uh-huh.
and then there's a trail that we kind of intersected here, but we basically went around to this point
Okay,
and then
All right.
came out somewhere in here.
right.
So,
So that's still kind of where we're shooting for,
yeah,
if it works. Okay,
something like that.
or more down, okay. Because that's where the water tower is kind of the meadow.
Yeah, I was about to ask
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
About the
so-
water tower, because I know that we had some issues around that council wise.
Yeah.
Well, the water, the land, so the square that you see right there is intended for a future water reservoir, but the 200 by 200 foot zone is intended for the construction. That's what you would need for construction. So the footprint of the reservoir probably wouldn't be that big, but during construction, you would need that much space. So part of our discussion while we were there is, I think we need to make concessions and try to maximize the trail at this point, and then when or if they build the reservoir on this site, we will work around it.
Yeah.
We'll work around it. We'll deal with the trail and then build it back or do something in conjunction with the project at that time.
All right. So the design will still go forward,
Yep.
Even though construction wouldn't start until after July?
Um,
Or nothing will happen until after July?
I don't know how much will happen till after July because we've kind of met our ceiling
Okay.
financially
All
right now.
Okay.
so.
People will ask, and I need to know the answer to that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Any other questions or concerns from the staff?
Kim Agramson again. Question about the existing paved trail. Will the added loop be integrated into that paved trail?
Correct.
And will that be repave the existing trail or? Yeah,
Not at this
not
time.
necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay. And will the new trail be about the same width?
Yes, that's what we discussed.
Oh, okay.
That's the goal,
Okay. All right.
which I think is around 8 feet.
Okay.
So we're going to try our best. It might reduce a little bit because of the topography and geological features that are there,
Right.
but they're going to do their best to design it at 8 feet.
Right. I've forgotten, are they going to add like doggy bag stands, stations?
That could be.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just kind of focused on getting the trail built.
No pressure.
But no, and that's always an after fact.
Yeah.
We could always add that after.
Just thoughts.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right. I just wanted to say thank you for inviting myself and also John Eichstead from Fognap. I was really impressed with the team that was there. They were so positive and they saw things in the park that other people didn't see and options. So I feel really comfortable with what they're doing and their insight into that land and what they were trying to achieve. So I'm hopeful. And I look forward actually to see the plan when we should see that.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or we can move on to the board? Okay. So business from the board. And this is Nancy Turner trying to talk. I did ask everyone to bring their binders tonight, which look like this, and I see them. Kristen's still working on gathering some of the information, so we'll get the new inserts next meeting. And I think those inserts will cover the updated park goals, the council goals, and then the city goals. And so we'll have all three of those levels of goals to work from. It'll also have an updated budget statement so we know what our budget is. So that will all go within the binder. And I'll kind of show you what it is, but you'll have one, Ian. So it just helps us kind of keep our stuff together. And when we talk about something, we can all go to the same page for reference. So that's what that is. So we'll hear more about that next time. The next, any questions or things that you'd like to see in the binder?
Question really quick.
Yes.
You guys had asked last month about identifying the funds that you have access to. Do you want just those simple numbers or do you want the information in our ordinances that go along with that? How detailed do you want that? I guess is what I'm asking.
I would love to see the budget, and maybe highlight it. I know on a computer you can kind of do that, but it would be nice if there was something that was a little bit more typographically friendly, if that's a word.
Yep.
A little bigger font and a little bit more.
So maybe broken out what monies can be used
Yeah.
and proportionately to projects.
Yeah, kind of, who it's designated, because I know like West funds, we can
Yes.
only use in certain areas and
Okay.
that'd be helpful. Thanks.
Perfect. I can do that.
Yep. And one other thing while we're talking about funds, Bruce had asked me on the Nature Loop Trail, it is with a state park grant. And then the bathroom and the shelter and other improvements at the park are through the Metro funds. So we have two different pots of money that we're working with. So just to keep that clear. Okay, the next thing on our business from the board is the Max Patterson reservation. This had come both to council and many times to the Parks Board about the shelters at Max Patterson kind of becoming a territorial nightmare where people would show up at 6 a.m. to reserve them for the weekends when they didn't have a party until like 1. So we asked the city if there was a way we could start some sort of a reservation process. And everybody's got their heads together and came up with a plan. So Kristen's going to share that with us. Or Silas, are you helping to present that or?
I'll do my best. This is actually the first time I've seen it, but yeah, they've been working mainly on it here at City Hall, and it's ready to launch. And I believe the date is May 1st. So from an operations or public works standpoint, we're ready to kind of get the messaging out at the park to try to get ahead of it and let people know that May 1st, they'll have to make reservations. It'll be found on the website, obviously, that Kristen has pulled up here. And I've never navigated it, but it looks like availability, you press the here button, possibly.
So first off, we have like the reservation form
Yep.
that is up here. And we're open to suggestions if you have suggestions on changing it. So this is the document that you fill out.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right there. I mean, that is the reservation. You would fill it out. You would pick your block of times and what shelter you want, and then submit it once it's completed. At that point, then I believe it goes to a calendar
Yeah.
and sends notifications to the person that made the reservation.
So yeah, the calendar, I don't know why this one's not. Hold on, let me see if I can get it. There is a calendar that actually has time slots on it. So I'm not sure why that one's not showing. There we
Right
go.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when those slots are taken, they'll turn gray so that you can't select them anymore, or it'll, so if there's suggestions or anything that you guys have as far as like the setup, maybe flip-flopping the here for the calendar and then the form or something, feel free to share if you have any insights.
So let me see if I can formulate this question. So someone wakes up on Saturday morning and decides they want to have a party, they'll still be able to reserve that site? Should there be an open one
If
on
there's
that
some-
day of?
I mean, yeah, theoretically, if it's
Theoretically.
open, yeah.
Okay,
Because my understanding is that if there does happen to be anyone that, you know, has questions, you could pull it up on your calendar and say, I have it reserved right here, because
Okay.
it's a live document.
okay. All right. And you don't have to, you don't get preference if you're a Gladstone resident over a non-Gladstone
I
resident?
don't think
at
we
this
have
point?
any way to
yeah.
differentiate that.
Okay.
And there's no fees. This is just a pilot right now. We're going to run it through the summer, I believe till the end of August potentially, or 1st of September, and then reevaluate and see if we can make improvements or try to get some feedback maybe from
From users?
the public, the
Yeah.
users, yeah.
So who will monitor for compliance?
Compliance of like who's got it reserved.
Yeah, well, like, will someone pop by there during the weekend and say, okay? Or if someone calls and said, I was here,
We haven't really gotten any sort of feedback on that. I think it's going to be, hopefully people can regulate themselves and use the honor code and say, I have this reserved, and move on to another shelter. So, I mean, we're going to try to have possibly a seasonal employee work the weekends. But if disputes happen, they're going to have to resolve it themselves and take it upon themselves to work it out or contact somebody. But
I was wondering if you'd thought about talking with Chief Schmerber, just as a precautionary.
I have mentioned it, and I don't think
I'm sure they don't want to be involved.
the capacity is there to be able to deal with those issues. But
So this is Bruce, because Kristen asked a question. So I have lots of answers. I don't know if they're right. Actually, I've got questions for your
Okay,
questions.
thank you.
So like when you click the calendar, you can't say, oh, I want that. And then just, you have to go in and register first. Then the availability disappears.
No, well, yeah, for it to clear out, you
For it to
have
clear
to
out,
fill out
okay.
the document. But yeah, our website is kind of basic. So there's
Yeah.
not the option to click on the time slot and have it take you to that because our
Yeah.
calendar is made in a different
Right.
platform,
So I would just,
unfortunately.
alls I would say is just add in, got to be simple. Click the calendar first for availability.
Right.
Then-
Yeah, I was thinking maybe
Something
we
like
should
that.
flip-flop that a little bit. So, but, just so that you're looking, check
Yeah.
availability and then reserve,
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah. And some people will figure that out and others won't.
Completely.
It's the-
Yeah. And I think it's more of just functionality of the way that step one is to check that it's available before you thought.
I mean, otherwise, I think it looks great and it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then Nancy was mentioning, how are you going to resolve any issues at the park? Would it be wise to have a sign at the shelter that just says this is in use by reservation only? And then, maybe, I hate to say this, but the QR code, because I'm not real tech savvy, but so if someone's there, they go, oh, they go in and they can see this page will pop up. Maybe that's where it'll take them to. And then, if it's available, they can just do that. And then there's no question.
Are you wanting a sign that says who it's reserved for that we would then have to update, or just this
Well, I
is a
just-
reserve, this is,
Just to let people know when they walk into the
You
park
may
there,
reserve
and
this.
they're gonna, all of a sudden sit down, hey, bring all the picnic baskets. Everybody comes
Yep.
over and now a bunch of people are sitting there about 15 minutes before
yes,
the reserve, this way they can check it right there and then.
yeah. Yeah, no, I do believe that there was a plan, I don't know specifically, but a plan to put some sort of signage
Something that, yeah,
up for that
yeah.
specific reason. But I don't think we can go as far as like putting anything saying who it's reserved for, like some of
Oh,
the
no,
other
no,
cities do.
no, Chris, I wasn't
Okay,
saying that.
yeah,
Just
perfect.
it would just take you to
Mhm.
this site
Yes.
where they could see that it's not available,
Yes.
right? And then
Yes.
they go, oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll take it right to the calendar so that they can see and then
Okay.
have it where they can go off the link for that to go to
Yeah.
reserve.
I think that'd be just that little added extra at the park so that
Yep.
they'll begin to figure it out a little easier.
Yeah. Perfect. We can do that.
All right, cool.
Okay, other questions, concerns? Okay, well, thank you. I think this will be exciting to see how that rolls out. Next on the business from the board, we have the Nick Shannon Park improvements. Thank you all for your help with the survey. We actually get to see it tonight. And see how that goes and if we want to go forward with it. And before I forget, I really want to thank Haley and Kristen for their time working this up and getting it so we can actually see it. So Ian, part of what we're doing is we're going to upgrade the facilities at Nick Shannon. And we wanted to get a survey done, both of the people that live close to the park, but also the city on what they feel would be good for the park. So that's what this is. This is hopefully what it will come out.
So we'll be putting these out on QR codes in the park. It'll also be on the website and on the social media platforms. And this Survey Monkey that is currently not live, hence why I'm already here, you'll be able to click the link and go to the survey and Silas can take over from there.
Yep, we have that already. We were just waiting for the Parks Advisory Board to say, yes, looks good, and then we can get those signs out at Nick Shannon for sure, but probably at other parks as well, where if you're walking around, you can just hit the QR code and it'll take you right to the park survey.
Okay.
And the intent is just that, to say what kind of equipment would you like to see there, and just to kind of get some different brainstorming ideas to see what we could replace or make happen at that park. So there's other amenities, questions about, do you live close by? You know, the thing about playground equipment is you need to keep in mind that they're usually developed and intended for certain age groups. So this, I think, has a pretty good variety, trying to meet all age groups. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of results you get as far as the pictures and the different playground equipment itself. So, but that's it. It's ready to go again. We can get the QR codes out when you're ready.
This is Ian. So are these pictures exactly representative, or
No, they are very just kind of examples.
would we want to include that explanation of this picture is not representative of exactly what would be put up?
I think we have that
did.
somewhere. We had talked about that.
It's right, pictures below are for reference only.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to hurt some little child who gets all excited about something and then not have that. Yeah.
Spruce. So not to get too far ahead because we got to get the survey out there and stuff. Does this all go out to bid once we get it come back, or are we using the same people that we use like down at Meldrum for that?
No, I believe we'll have to go through a formal RFP
Yeah.
and probably some sort of a design. So there's still quite a few steps ahead of us before we can
Yeah, sure.
do the work. So.
Understand that. Okay, thanks.
This is Kate. Question number 3 I would suggest separating that into probably 2 questions, because I think it's asking,
I was gonna say, where is 3? Is it all the way down?
yep,
Oh, the nature play?
nope, all the way down.
Oh,
Question
oh my
3.
goodness.
So
Sorry.
there could be, my family lives close to Nick Shannon Park. We don't visit that often versus we don't live close, but we do visit often.
Okay.
So I think those maybe are separate things that we're trying to discover.
Okay. So we need to add one in there, another level.
And this is Eric, or maybe it could be my family lives close to Nick Shannon Park. Yes, no. We visit there often. Yes, no. We would visit there more often if improvements were made. Yes, no. So it'd be 3 questions.
Great. Perfect.
Any other questions? Do you need any other input from us?
I would just need everybody to, make sure that we're on the same page and that we want to post it as is with those changes.
Okay.
Or do you guys want to see it?
Yeah.
This is Ian. So on the update, do we have to remove everything that's already there and rebuild from scratch? Can we leave parts of it in? Is everything old enough it just has to go?
I would assume yes. We have to take out the old and put in new and use the same or similar footprint. The equipment that's there is fairly outdated, and there's a lot of regulations that go with playground equipment and the material underneath it. Sand is not one of them. So yes, we have heard those comments. There's a lot of sentimental value with that playground equipment because it is that older style, and there's people that really like the merry-go-round and other aspects, the slide and things. So, but yes, I think we'd be starting from scratch.
This is way down the road. Potentially when we remove the sand, I wonder if we might want to organize a community giveaway of it rather than just dumping it. Way down the road, of course, but.
Right.
Thank you.
Like give a time period for people to come in and get it if they want it. Less for you have to do. I think the only piece of play equipment there that when I look at it, I think looks a little newer is the slide. The other pieces definitely look older. And I don't know if the slide is in fact newer or if it just because it's yellow, it looks better. I don't know. So, and I don't know if there's another place in the community we could put it, like, move it to Max Patterson, but I don't know. Anyway, it's I don't know, we can look at it all again. I guess I would really encourage people in the next month as this is going out there is again to go back and look at the park if you can, get it on your drive-by list and kind of look at it at different periods of the time in the week to see what kids are doing. The site is really wet and mucky. for whatever that reason is. That's a really wet piece of property. So, and I also, as we go forward, the other concern I have is how close the side of the play structure is to that road, the service road. I mean, it's just right there with no protection border. And I know that that's not a heavily traveled road, but I'm not sure if that passes, if there's some legal playground statement that says you have to have some sort of a barrier there.
I'm sure all that will be evaluated once we get the footprint and determine what we are going to put there.
Yeah.
Again, that'll be a design. There'll be some formal plans made and whatnot. So we'll take that into consideration, definitely.
Yeah, so I think it'd be good if we could all continue to just make ourselves really familiar with it so we know what we're talking about when the plan comes out. So, all right, other questions?
Well, I was just going to add into what Ian had said about getting the sand, and I started looking at that equipment. It's a lot of it's steel. I mean, it's metal, and I'm just wondering, is that a cost to have somebody come in and remove it all when we've got a few people here right in the community that will take all the scrap steel you can come up with, and it gets repurposed, not so much for use, but for the money, and it goes into programs here. Specifically the robotics club. And I'm just wondering if that's something that maybe we take into consideration instead of paying for it. Yeah, just another item to put down.
We can talk about it in the future when we get closer, definitely.
All right.
I keep hearing that same response there. Okay. I'm really excited to at least have gotten to this stage. Thank you again for all that worked on it. So if I could, if we have any more questions? Anybody want to make a motion that we either move ahead or? Right, and I think we gave you enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think we need to do a motion or anything. I just think we need to make sure that we're all on the same page as to if the entire board wants to see the survey with the changes, or if it's something that, that just Nancy can approve and we'll put out after we make the changes. So I guess that's really all we need to know.
I'm good with that.
Which of those two things?
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Okay. So
Clarify.
okay, Sarah.
This is Bruce Hilworth. I would just say that if everybody's in agreement, it would be good to make the changes on the document, shoot it over to our chairperson here, and Nancy can just say, yeah, it looks good, confirm, and we move on.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
And we have a date in order to get it out in that May city newsletter, correct?
Yeah, that's by the 18th. So
Okay.
we'll make sure to get it taken care of before
Is that
then.
April 18th or?
Yeah, sorry, April. Yeah.
Okay.
So just a few days. We have 4 days from right now to get it ready to
All
go
right,
out.
and get it so that it will go out in the May.
in the newsletter, and then we'll get it out before that
Perfect.
digitally. So
Okay. All right. All in favor of going ahead with that, just yay or nay?
Yep.
Yay.
Yes.
I think we're all good, right?
We're all good. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm so excited to get this up there. All right. Moving ahead, discussion regarding the city staff, identifying appropriate city staff members to assist with tasks based on roles. I thought about this for a while after I read that, and I thought I could go with this question about 5 different directions. So I'm gonna see what your thoughts are on this one.
Well, I would say that if it's a question coming from the board's perspective, you can always email me and we can get it on the agenda and talk about it. We seem to have a fairly good process right now to do that. If you're out in the field and you see something as a board member or as a resident, there's a email address that's on our website. I believe it's pw@ci. I don't know. PW office. Sorry. Thank you. PW office@ci.gladstone.or.us. It's on the Public Works part of the website, and I think all the subsets, water, wastewater, parks, it's in there as well. That's a really good format to make a request, which then we generate a work order. It's usually about a 24, 48-hour process to get that turnaround. You could also call the front desk if it's something that you need. Definitely use those 2 routes for requests like you see something that needs maintenance. That's the best route. If you're out walking and you see a parks worker, definitely say hi. But making the requests, sometimes maybe that should come through me first, and then we can arrange to have things taken care of. But general maintenance, things that you see like a low-hanging branch or something that's needs attention, definitely use that email address, and the phone number is the best avenue. Does that answer your question, Nancy?
Well, it does part of it. And I think I feel comfortable doing that. I know the process and I know the route. I think my concern comes down to, does the everyday common citizen feel empowered to report something that they see? And I know we've had lots of discussions about what is enforcement and what is maintenance. And those go to two different people within the city offices. So I still have like a dream of having something posted like at the bathrooms. That seems to be a big spot for maintenance and or enforcement, and just kind of like how people can submit that information. Not just the board, but the everyday walker, the person who rides through Gladstone on the trolley trail, who sees something and wants to report it. Like, how can, they're not going to sit there and look it up on the website. They're going to just drive on and not mention it. Whereas trying to get people to report things sooner or help be an extra set of eyes within the community. So I didn't know if this was kind of the lead off to that conversation.
Well, what I can tell you is we do get a lot of reports. And I would say that Gladstone's pretty proactive. People that are in the parks, when they see something, they call right away or they'll make an email request because we get them daily. So rest assured that when things go on, we hear about it fairly quickly. But I think what I'm hearing is maybe at a kiosk or a point somewhere in the park having that posted. Something that says, if you see a maintenance needs, send an email here or call this number.
Or a QR code, the old, that seems to be the world goes. I don't know. I'm not sure how other Parks Board people feel.
Yeah, it's something to consider and talk about. I don't know if we currently have that, but we can definitely discuss it.
Yeah. So.
But as far as the code enforcement aspect, we do have an officer that routinely patrols Meldrum for sure, and I'm sure other areas as well. And the officer responds to many complaints that come in as well. So I believe there's a number for that.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, I'm going, okay, so, and only because I've called the compliance officer several times. I have it in my phone. But I don't know if the general person walking around has that. So if we could make it easier for people to do it, I don't know.
Yep, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm not sure how other people feel.
I'll add in because I think it is one of those things. This is Bruce Hildreth. People see something, but they don't necessarily know how to say something or who to say it to. And I know we don't want to manufacture a bunch of signs and add it to the signs that we already have with the rules and all that. But there's a lot of signs around that are encouraging people to hang in there, and you can do it and all that kind of stuff. They're very inexpensive little signs on an H stake, and it probably wouldn't hurt to have a couple of those around for people to see. It might be helpful. And I don't know, experiment with it, something like that, just to see if it helps. But it would have to have either a phone number, so it goes to code enforcement, or the QR code, something like that. But it got me thinking though too. We seem to be having problems down at Meldrum. Max Patterson, I guess. This next suggestion has been up before. A park. Ranger is the only thing I can think of. Just let's put it more positive.
A park host?
What are the no? It's
Like a park, like a ranger.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
a
host.
host.
That's what I'm looking for, like a park host. We've talked about this before, and I think Meldrum has plenty of space for that. And it's a big enough park that I think if there was a park host area, we probably wouldn't have any problem getting somebody that's qualified, you know, that maybe is in that realm in their life where they want to set up. And, you know, it's one of those things that I understand there's really no cost other than to get a place set up for them. And yeah, maybe we have to supply them with some water and electricity, hookup, if you will. But maybe some of the heaviest time of the year, usage wise, you've got somebody there that maybe sort of adopts the park. It's their park. And we've talked about it, and then it just kind of goes, you know, city doesn't want to go any farther with it. And I just think this might be a good opportunity to bring it back up since we were talking about the see something, say something. Guess maybe that was me that brought that up, but at any rate, I'd like to start that discussion. Maybe we should have it on as an agenda item one of the next meetings.
Yeah, I think, you know, looking at our signs and seeing if there's something easily that we can put on our signs, as like a number 12 or whatever is on our sign that says, if you see a maintenance issue, call this number. If you see an ordinance issue, call this number. That's something I'll start looking into and evaluating and discuss with Jackie, our city administrator. Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
it's just even a little additional sign, you know,
Mhm.
that can go right on the post.
Yeah.
Something.
the other idea of camp posts, that's a higher level discussion. I think we probably need to set
Absolutely.
for an agenda item and
Yeah.
talk at another time.
I just thought I'd bring it up.
But the numbers, I mean, I think that's something that I'll start looking into.
Other thoughts, questions?
This is Ian. Do you have metadata on when and how often you get complaints? Are you able to just track the volume and like, does it go up and down, et cetera?
I'll ask Kristen to talk to that, but from what I've seen, it's pretty consistent. And we make work orders if it's for most everything that we respond to, if it's a call or an email. So we do have a pretty good tracking, but I think it's pretty consistent from what I've seen so far, but I'm sure there'll be an uptick in the summertime. I haven't been here long enough to see that, but Kristen, do you have anything to add?
I mean, yeah, I would agree with what Silas said. It's pretty consistent. It just moves around to what, you know, what's going on at that particular time. During the fall, we get an uptick in more street stuff. So we are able to track it though, and see where we're getting, you know, more hours spent in a park, because we can break it down by park, and down to what it is the problem is, whether it's graffiti or, you know, vandalism and or just everyday maintenance items, you know. So it takes some time, but we can.
This is Ian. Thank you. Yeah, if we're getting consistent reporting, I always love posting phone numbers. There's most cities around here post phone numbers for maintenance stuff, but if we're getting consistent reporting, it seems like the citizens are taking care of that.
Okay, other concerns, questions? So we'll look forward to kind of talking about, we'll add that on as a topic for next. You know, I know that Meldrum creates its own concerns. I mean, there's a lot of concerns that come with Meldrum. And I think we could do like a whole topic on that as well as just a park host, but other things that could do to kind of help Meldrum maybe settle some of the issues that happen down there. So anyway, the other thing that we had talked about in the meeting that was brought up was that Chief Schumer had been invited to come and talk perhaps about enforcement things at one of the meetings. Is that correct? And
I haven't mentioned it, but I'm happy to ask, and I'm sure he'd be happy to come and
kind of,
discuss anything.
okay, so would we be interested in that, having the chief come and get his perspective, or
the code enforcement officer, but somebody might be interesting to hear from them.
Yeah, I can't guarantee next month. I don't know his schedule, but definitely can plant the seed.
okay, I think that'd be great. Yeah, looking ahead at kind of tackling those problems in between the other projects at the nature park and other parks. So thank you. Any other concerns that we need to do before we move on? Okay, business from the audience.
We actually don't have any
Okay.
this month.
Then our next meeting is May 12th, 5:30 here in this room. And if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn,
Kim Magnuson, motion to adjourn.
do we have a second?
Eric Butler, I second.
Okay, Kristen, can you call the roll, please?
Sure can. Kate Cornelius.
Yes.
Kim Agrimson.
Yes.
Eric Butler.
Yes.
Nancy Turner.
Yes.
Bruce Hildreth.
Yes.
Ian Moore.
Yes.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.